All right, it's 7:30. I think we will get started. I'm Celeste Heath. I'm the city clerk. Wanted to welcome you to the organizational and regular meeting of the City Council, our first meeting for this seated City Council. And I would call the meeting to order. Did you like that? That was fun. It's the only time I get to do it. So if everybody would like to rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now I'll call roll. Ms. Conley?
Here.
Ms. Flynn?
Here.
Ms. Hardy?
Here.
Ms. Leon?
Here.
Ms. Shantz-Hiscott?
Here.
Mr. Snyder?
Here.
Ms. Underhill?
Here.
Thank you, Council. And now I would like to open the nominations for mayor. And there is no second needed for these. And if you give me a signal, I'll call on you if you'd like to make a nomination. Ms. Conley?
Ms. Heath, I'd like to nominate Letty Hardy for mayor. In her 8 years on council, Letty has demonstrated leadership in so many ways, and she has grown from an interested citizen to a visionary regional leader. Letty does the work. She reads everything. She asks great questions. She synthesizes information and materials. Her weekly email unites people from across the community. She replies and responds to almost every message she receives. She started her own office hours several years ago and talks to anyone who comes. And she convinced council that we should also have council office hours monthly to hear all citizen voices. She has built strong relationships with regional colleagues, our neighbors in Arlington and Fairfax, and this is so important for Falls Church as the little city. She does not shy away from difficult conversations. She is a visionary and she wants to get things done, a rare combination. One example is the tree lights. Everybody on council wanted tree lights, and Letty wanted tree lights. And everyone said, yeah, that's good, we got some tree lights. And Letty said, no, the tree lights have to go all the way to Haycock. And this year they did. So she is a visionary, but she does the work. She has a servant's heart. And this isn't something that everybody else sees. But in her years on council, Letty has always made sure that we have an opportunity to volunteer for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. She's a parent PTA volunteer on almost every single activity I see her name. And she also serves the elderly and looks after her neighbors and friends in need. Her fellow council members respect her, and she believes in shared leadership, and she's going to remake the role of mayor. So I am really pleased to nominate Letty Hardy for mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Conley. Are there any other nominations for mayor? Seeing none, I'll close the nominations for mayor. And I will call each of your names, and you would please state your choice for mayor.
Sorry, Ms. Heath, I just had a comment. I don't know if you wanted to take comments before the vote.
Certainly, yes, please.
Okay. Good evening. I just had a few comments. It's an honor to be here tonight on my first night as a sworn member of the City Council. I'm looking forward to working with all of my colleagues. It's not lost on me that 6 women are sitting up here tonight. That's historic. And I thank my colleagues who have come before me, as well as Ms. Underhill, who's joining me here tonight on the council. And I also wanted to recognize Mr. Snyder, who this year celebrates his 30th year on the council. I'm very eager to see what we accomplish working together with our combined knowledge, experiences, passion, and talents. And I hope that we can think pragmatically and work thoughtfully to advance the interests of all city residents. Tonight, there are votes for the leadership of the council, for mayor and vice mayor. At this point, I won't be casting yes or no votes tonight, and the reasons are twofold. First, I haven't worked with any members of the council in my capacity as a council member, and I would like an opportunity to see how those interactions play out before I would effectively endorse someone for these roles. And second, it was clear to me in watching city governance over the last couple of years and speaking with hundreds of city residents that there are concerns about whether leaders are taking into appropriate consideration the public's views on many different policy issues, and whether the council is appropriately prioritizing its work in responding to citizen concerns. Those interests and issues are important to me, and I would like to have the benefit of working with this council for some period of time before I would support any particular individuals for mayor or vice mayor. For that reason, I won't be voting yes or no tonight, but with the very clear statement that I look forward to working with everyone here and doing what I can to help this council as a body succeed. I've had productive conversations with Ms. Hardy and with Ms. Hiscott, which I hope will continue, and I appreciate their willingness to serve in these roles and give freely of their time. With the benefit of each other's perspectives, the public input, and the expertise of city staff, I sincerely believe the community will be well served when we bring our collective energy, insights, and vision to the issues before us. And I want to thank each and every one of you for your service, commitment, and dedication. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further comment on the nomination? Thank you. So we will go to a vote. Oh, yeah. Yes, sir?
Thank you very much.
Mr. Schneider?
So I want to explain why I'll be abstaining on the vote for mayor and vice mayor this evening. I want to explain my vote as follows. Having served in both positions, I understand these are important roles and appreciate those who come forward to assume them. Building trust among peers and a true team are a key part of both jobs. That said, I cannot vote yes tonight. Both nominees, and I assume that Debbie Hiscott will be a nominee for vice mayor, were deeply involved in some of the most divisive policies and procedures for enacting them that I have seen in decades, namely the T-zone issue. Hundreds of citizens, including former mayors, former planning commission members, and other community leaders, spent countless hours delving into the intricacies of zoning and offering constructive compromise approaches without serious consideration. Instead, citizens were repeatedly belittled, told they didn't understand the issues, and chided for being unnecessarily fearful of imagined consequences. The T-zone situation also reflects a persistent community concern about a culture of too close connectedness between developers and those with influence in the city, whether elected, appointed, etc. The sense, and too often the fact, that developers are allowed to achieve their objectives at the expense of the city and its citizens has previously been exhibited in several of our other mixed-use projects where commitments have not been kept by developers and project risks have been shifted from developers to and been accepted by, regrettably, the city. Among recent instances are the continued lack of a movie theater and multiple vacant retail spaces at Founders Row 1 and repeated financial givebacks to the developer at the massive West End development. And all of this has occurred with minimal, if any, real transparency to our citizens. I think the voters made clear in the last election that trust in our local government is frayed. Has that message been received, and will actions by incoming leadership demonstrate that it has been heard? What constitutes leadership in one of the most progressive and highly educated communities in America? Does leadership mean using transitory power, or is it leadership working with everyone, governing for everyone, and seeking compromise through open and transparent processes? I'll also not, however, be voting no this evening. I remain optimistic and focused on the future. Both candidates for the council's leadership positions are hardworking and competent. They have the capacity to learn from the mistakes of the past, heal the divisions that have been created, and restore trust in government by, for example, creating stronger conflict of interest controls, especially in the area of economic development, holding only essential closed-door city council sessions, and restoring the degree of respect for our citizens that they deserve. I hope that in the next 6 months or a year from now, I can honestly say that I wish my vote tonight had been a strong yes for both Ms. Hardy and I suspect for Ms. Shantz Hiscott. And I want to add that I think the future can be bright if we make it, and I'm hopeful that we will. That's where my focus will be, even though I've had to recount recent events that have been very painful, I think, for our entire city. I hope we can move beyond those, and I am committed to working with our leadership, whatever that is in the future, to avoid those mistakes and at the same time provide the kind of government and services that our citizens expect. I look forward to that, and again reiterate, I will not vote no this evening. My abstention reflects exactly what I indicated. Thank you very much.
Ms. John Siscott?
Thank you. I wanted to echo several of Mary Beth's comments about Letty doing the work and talking to everybody. I mean, hosting innumerable meetings in Mr. Brown's Park, office hours, taking phone calls, 24/7, visiting with anybody who wanted to talk about pretty much any issue, at least that I've seen the past 3 years, really indicates how much she digs in and takes the time to listen. So I'd like to provide a little different perspective from my council colleagues. I'm going to repeat a few things from a discussion we had over T-zones, because I really think it's important to reiterate that, in a time when civility across the country is degrading, I really believe it's our duty as Falls Church City Council members to continue to uphold civil discourse. Policy goals are going to be different amongst the 7 of us up here, and I think that's good and expected. I think that's appropriate, and I think it represents our citizens, almost 16,000 of them. It doesn't mean if we have a policy difference that the majority of us who may have voted differently than the minority do are acting unethically or unscrupulously or not deserving of trust of the public, nor are members of Falls Church City staff. To state or imply that this is the case is upsetting, equally as it is untrue. To state or imply that any of my actions should cause distrust is also a statement that I challenge. I've consistently stated my opinions, my goals and approaches over decades of living in Falls Church City. On the T-zones debate, we spent years talking with residents, hosting open forums and walking tours. I've personally been in many people's homes. I've talked to hundreds of people about this issue and worked with our boards and commissions and planning commission on this topic since February of 2021. I believed it was a good move for the city, and that's why I supported it and voted for it. And it was not without a significant amount of thought and hundreds of hours of thinking about it. I've lived in Falls Church City for over 28 years. I've raised my 3 children here, and I've brought my elderly parents here to live out the end of their years here. To suggest that I rush things or I'm not trustworthy or I'm not looking out for the good of the city is unfair, again, untrue, and unkind. Having a different perspective on policy doesn't make me untrustworthy. Imagine if you speak to any of the thousands of people here in Falls Church City with whom I've worked, volunteered, coached, or interacted with over the past 28 years, they would quickly disabuse that notion. So, I think there are people in here I've worked with that would be happy to talk with you about that as well on my behalf, and perhaps on behalf of Letty as well. We're all up here with the intent of serving our community and our citizens, and I hope that's what all of us will continue to do. We all have a vote. We have leadership in place, but the structure of this council is all 7 of us want to be leaders in the community. We want to be listening to our citizens, reflecting on that, and helping to enact fiduciary policy that's responsible, policy that will continue to serve our citizens today and look towards those who we have to serve in the future. So I just wanted to share my personal opinion, and thank you for the time to do so, and I'll be supporting Letty Hardy as mayor. Thank you.
Does anybody else wish to speak before we go to a vote? All right. Since we have one nomination, I will entertain an aye or nay or abstention vote for Letty Hardy for mayor. And I'll be calling the roll starting with Ms. Conley.
Should I say Ms. Hardy or yes?
You can do either.
Ms. Hardy.
Okay. Ms. Flynn?
Present.
Ms. Hardy?
Hardy.
Ms. Leon?
Ms. Hardy.
Ms. Shantz-Hiscott?
Ms. Hardy.
Mr. Snyder?
Abstain.
Ms. Underhill?
Miss Hardy.
By a vote of 5-0, with one voting present and one abstention, Letty Hardy is the mayor of Falls Church. Congratulations.
Thank you to my colleagues.
I'm going to bring the gavel to you so we can do the rest of the proceedings, and then you can take over.
I have to do the vice mayor thing. Great. Thank you to my colleagues and for all the comments. I wanted to move to the election of the vice mayor. Do I have a nomination for vice mayor, please? Ms. Leon.
Yes, good evening, everybody. I would like to nominate Debbie Shantz-Hiscott for vice mayor. I've been on council for 2 years, and I've lived here since 2006, have had married into a family that has had roots in the city of Falls Church since 1958. And it's been a pleasure to work with everybody on council. Debbie has lived here for over 20 years. She's provided multiple years of service to this community, from boards and commissions that I don't think there's one that doesn't exist anymore. That's how long ago you've served. Yes, to serving as our fearless leader for the Falls Church Education Foundation as an executive director, a role that she recently left to serve a new senior leadership role at a new organization. She's got the background coming from private, public sector, plus as a government experience. And I believe when we go forward on our agenda, when we talk about the value of collaboration, that Mr. Snyder has cited, that, Debbie working in the role of vice mayor is able to do that and articulate and make sure and facilitate that we get to the objectives of what we need to do as a governing body.
Any other comments or discussion? Madam Clerk, will you call the vote?
Ms. Conley?
Ms. Shantz-Hiscott.
Ms. Flynn?
Present.
Ms. Hardy?
Ms. Shantz-Hiscott.
Ms. Leon?
Ms. Shantz-Hiscott.
Ms. Shantz-Hiscott?
Ms. Shantz-Hiscott.
Mr. Snyder?
Abstain.
Ms. Underhill?
Miss Shantz-Hiscott.
By a vote of 5-0, with one voting present and one abstaining, Deborah Shantz-Hiscott is the mayor, vice mayor of the city of Falls Church. Congratulations.
We'll switch seats now.
We'd just like to take a moment to move our dais around so the mayor is sitting in the middle, if you'll indulge us. Madam Mayor, may I do another roll call so we can start the regular meeting?
In the spirit of doing things differently, I wanted to make sure everyone up here had a chance to speak. And so I think everyone except maybe Ms. Underhill. I don't know whether you have any comments, Ms. Underhill, before we...
Actually, I do have a few comments or a few words to set the tone for what I hope to accomplish on City Council and in my tenure here. So knocking on doors during the campaign was somewhat dreadful. There were days where I couldn't even bring myself to knock on a stranger's door. But once I got into the rhythm, I began having earnest conversations with people, and I grew to love it. I started out knowing only about 4 people in the city, and now I know thousands. And that experience gave me a real slice of life of the city and the work that people are doing in their own ways to make Falls Church thrive. So here's my positive vision for the city, co-created by all of the interactions that I've had. I look forward to shaping a city where every child can walk or bike to school on their own, where people of all different backgrounds feel deeply connected to our community and our neighbors through events, through pocket parks, other beautiful public spaces, as well as third places. We are known for our amazing local businesses, and you have to come here to Falls Church to experience it. We're a leader in the region and the country on climate. I would love for people from other cities to come to Falls Church and say, "That's amazing. How did you guys accomplish that?" We are a little city, but we can have a big impact. And I look forward to working with everyone up here, as well as everyone in the audience and everyone in the city to make Falls Church thrive. Thank you.
Great. Mary Beth, do you have more comments?
I'm sorry, I have a whole other thing that I want to say. Is it okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I want to start by congratulating Mayor Hardy and Vice Mayor Sean Hiscott. I'm confident that we are in good hands with your leadership. I appreciate that the process of selecting a mayor is one of those things that you don't really understand until you're one of the 7 people selecting a mayor. And I would say it's a cherished tradition, but it's not really, it's just a thing you have to get through. And it involves a series of one-on-one conversations, never meetings that break any FOIA rules. And in those conversations, you talk to each other about what your visions are, what your wishes are, who you'd like to serve, what you'd like to do, what you see coming. So it's been really great to talk to everyone up here about what their vision is for the future of the city. But it's also a little bit awkward. And I'm guessing it's been that way for 75 years. Mr. Snyder may have a longer perspective than I do, but it's just a little, it's hard to have that be your first vote, your first decision. So I'm glad that we're through that. And it is my honor to sit here as part of this distinguished body. When I started 10 years ago, I was one of the youngest and only 2 women, and now I'm one of the oldest with 6 women. And I hope that my leadership has been part of the reason why others have decided to run and serve. In those years, we've accomplished so much, and yet there really is so much more to do. So each person here brings some unique expertise and vision. And in working with Ms. Underhill and Ms. Flynn, I can already see how much you're going to complement the existing expertise of the people here. So Ms. Leon, heading into your 3rd year, it's been a pleasure to work with you and see you grow into your role as a council member. Mr. Snyder, I didn't realize it was 30 years, but your service to the city has a very strong record, and your representation of the city elsewhere in the region is so important. Ms. Hiscott, we were friends for years before we sat here on the dais, so it is joy to share this responsibility with you, and your deep roots in the community are so important to knowing what's going on in the community. And Ms. Hardy, I already said a lot about you, but being mayor is going to be a new challenge for you, and I'm so grateful that you agreed to step up to do it. So far, you have been up for every challenge, and I pledge to support you and be by your side as you go through all this, because we haven't had a new mayor in 10 years, so we're all going to have to get used to new ways of doing things. And then to one last thing to Ms. Flynn and Ms. Underhill, and that is the learning curve is really steep. So when I first got on council, I had been involved in the city for many years, and I think it took me 2 years to think, all right, I think I maybe know what I'm doing here. So don't be afraid to ask for help. We're all here to support you. But all the expertise in the world doesn't get things done without the support of the staff, who are really the true experts in running the city. The City Council hires and supervises the city manager, the city clerk, and the city attorney. And then additionally, we have the treasurer and the commissioner of the revenue and the sheriff, who are all elected officials and run their own offices. So this is a really unique structure, really only a Virginia structure, and it comes with its own benefits and challenges. But every report, every study, every proclamation, everything that happens in the community comes because of the staff. So I know that myself and all other council members are very grateful for the work of the staff. But we also know that the past 5 years have been rough on the staff of the City of Falls Church, but you've still managed to keep the city thriving. First, you moved out of City Hall in, I think it was 2018, to tight, uncomfortable quarters. Then you came back to City Hall a few weeks before we had to shut down for COVID, and everything turned on its head. And since then, the staff has dealt with challenges of not enough staff, a pandemic, return to work, computer systems that crashed, and from our side, an ambitious council agenda. In small organizations, where some of us work in small organizations, and we know that staff really have to wear many hats. And I'm sure every single one of you here has done that. So to the staff, in the coming years, I pledge to hear and understand your concerns and work in a council-appropriate role to support you in efforts to initiate and effect positive change. Recently, Mr. Shields initiated a reorganization, and I'm committed. It's just still a work in progress, just beginning, and I'm committed, and I hope all of you are, to see how that can benefit our community and benefit your job and make things better in City Hall and for the whole community. So in our 75th year in the City of Falls Church, we need to focus on our past and learn from our history. We need to focus on our present and what we need to do right now to make things better, and we need to focus on our future and create a bright and sustainable future for our community. Thanks.
Ms. Sean Siskott, Vice Mayor Sean Siskott.
Thank you for indulging me. I just have a few people I'd like to thank. Well, first of all, thank all of you for the honor of serving as the Vice Mayor of the City of Falls Church. I'm grateful for this opportunity and hope to use my 3 years on council and 28 plus years of experience in the city to work together and to continue to move our community forward. Like Mary Beth, I wanted to thank the staff. In the 3 years I've been on council, we've worked through COVID, a new high school opening, 10 acres of development on the old high school land, and significant economic development through new buildings and great infill like Northside Social and Godfrey's, new public art, our community energy and action plans, task forces on the use of force and stormwater, to name a few. This is an incredible increase in workload for our staff, and we acknowledge that. Last year, we focused on pay and going through studies to make sure that we are competitively remunerating our staff. And this year, we hope to continue to work on ensuring that Falls Church City is a great place to work. I want to thank the community. Like I said before, it's been an honor to be a part of this amazing community for so long. We have so many members who serve on boards and commissions and share expertise and global experiences that make our city better each and every week. Thanks to those residents who continue to communicate with City Council about areas to improve upon and to respectfully let us know when something needs attention. We appreciate the high level of engagement in Falls Church City and think it makes us better. We will continue to do our best to work collaboratively. I want to thank my council colleagues for tireless service to this job. We all have the same roles and responsibilities as our neighbors, but we know how our structure is here is much different than Fairfax and Arlington. None of us are up here doing this job for profit or publicity. We're each bringing a unique perspective to the role and our own lived experiences. Please respect us for that, and we will do the same for you. Just a brief thank you for my family. Like everybody up here, our nights here take away from our time with our families and our jobs and other things we might be working on. So thanks to my family and to all of those up here. I know that many of us have family histories of long, many decades of service as well. So hopefully we can continue to model that for our children too. We've accomplished a lot in the city, and we've stewarded the finances responsibly, decreased tax rates while funding top-notch schools and excellent services for our community. We've worked to build new housing, including affordable housing, as well as increase commercial offerings. We're in a period of unprecedented regional urbanization, though, and change. I've read that more than half the world's population now lives in or near a major urban area. And as the global population continues to grow over the next 2 decades, the world will have to accommodate about 70% more inhabitants within our existing physical footprints. Yet there's a considerable lack of planning at our regional level or national or international level to make changes in our built environment. And the pandemic starkly revealed the strains and gaps and inequalities in systems across our densely populated regions. So we need to continue to work on making today's Falls Church city the best we can, while keeping an eye on the future of Falls Church and ensuring we're discussing how we work within the region to provide an equitable and sustainable community. Thank you again, and I look forward to working with my colleagues and staff and the community.
Thank you. Other comments? Ms. Leon?
It's wonderful to be able to have an opportunity to really work and serve the public here in terms of the City of Falls Church. You know, when I first ran for council, I was really motivated by a desire to really become a larger part of the community that I have lived in since 2006. I had mastered corporate America. I had worked for 29 years in investment banking and management consulting, had every fancy title probably under my belt in those 29 years, and had served a lot of volunteer opportunities in the schools and really had a passion to do something more that did involve a dollar. And when I ran on that platform, 3 years ago, I knew I was walking humbly into big shoes. Even though I've done a lot of things, I have to say I grew into this role. It was very hard. You can be the executive for many different things, and then you actually serve an elected position, and you're serving in this position, and there's always an opportunity to learn. I am very appreciative of the progress we've made in the areas that compelled me to participate civically, right? When I ran 3 years ago, I was looking to leverage my experience at Freddie Mac to help build the capabilities that this city provides in affordable housing. In that time frame, I was afforded the opportunity to be a key player in developing the first shared equity program for our city, where we actually support home ownership, not just rentals. In the next 2 years, when we take a look at the work plan and what we do in that space, you will see me be looking at innovative ways, right? Using, fiscal balance to understand how we can support and expand our capabilities in that space. I do believe that we have a blessing of having location. We are uniquely growing. I do leadership circles in the DC government, and Washington, D.C., as the capital of the United States, is having a growth problem. Their growth percentages are not as high as the neighboring jurisdictions in Northern Virginia. Falls Church is doing well based on our forecast for revenue. And I do think that we have an opportunity there to take a look at, through my time on Budget and Finance Committee, which when we talk about appointments and committees, I am very passionate about that. Fiscal stewardship is something I want to be able to continue. We want to take a look at making sure that, that tax rate that the tax rate reduction that we achieved as a council in the past couple of years, we balance out with the rise of inflation and the fact that our home values have also increased, which in a sense kind of negated the tax reduction in a sense. So we want to take a look at how we balance that healthily while still making sure that we provide all the services that we want to provide, as a growing jurisdiction, to be able to attract businesses, and commercial and retail traffic so that it can drive our revenue base. And so with that, I'm excited to have Justine and Aaron. I think that, diversity of new voices, having been a new voice, is very important. And I'm really looking forward to collaborating and coming back and being able to share with everybody the results of this, work plan and the concept of what we as a new governing team will discuss and prioritize, in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to be here.
Great. Other comments? Karen? Okay. Well, I do have a few, so if you'll indulge me. So thank you. Truly, thank you. It's been an incredible honor to be able to serve the city that's been home for me for over 20 years now, and for my families for over 45, and more so to be mayor tonight. So thank you to Mary Beth, and all the other really kind words from others. It's really a full circle moment, because I think Mary Beth remembers that she and a few other women over 8 years ago were the ones who actually encouraged me to run at all. And so I'm so grateful for them, not just talking the talk about making room for others, but really continuing to live it and be deliberate in lifting up others and making room. And this is also a pinch me moment, that this first generation immigrant, first to go to college in her family where English was not her first language, gets to be up here and do this job and try to open doors for other people. So thank you for that. It's not lost on any of us that this day looks different tonight. We have 2 people of color up here, 3 immigrants, some of us with business, private sector backgrounds that you've heard about, some of us with young kids, some even with a grandchild now, tenures spanning from 8 days to nearly 30 years. Congratulations, Mr. Snyder, on both those latter fronts. And yes, the obvious, we have a new, groundbreaking, historic council with 6 women up here. A warm welcome to Erin and Justine. Fresh ideas and new skills are so important as we all seek to represent our growing and changing community, continuously improving the city that we all love, and live up to the legacy of Carol DeLong, who recently passed and was the first woman mayor of Falls Church. To borrow the word from Taylor Swift, this is a new era. And this new era represents both a huge responsibility and a privilege. We have the opportunity to do this differently. By now, everyone up here knows that I am the most reluctant one here, as much as I prefer to stay behind the scenes and focus on just getting things done. But I've really challenged myself to reflect on where we've come as a city in the past decade, where we go from here, the strengths of this team, and how I can play a small part, staying true to myself and our community values. Over the past 6 years, we've been on this incredible journey of getting caught up in all of our capital infrastructure, working hard to expand and build new schools, parks, sidewalks, libraries, city hall, stormwater, sewer, bridges, and other infrastructure that's really raised the quality of life for our residents. There's been a lot of building, to say the least. We persevered through a global pandemic while diversifying our tax base and revitalizing the city, adding new housing that is welcoming new neighbors, who are then in turn supporting our flourishing business community. I think it's evident when you walk around Falls Church with our bustling cafes and vibrant, busy sidewalks that people actually walk on now, that our little city is growing up. Because of that hard work, we are fortunate to be on solid financial footing. Instead of raising taxes to pay for all those things, we've actually lowered our taxes ahead of schedule and still have more than healthy reserves that we started deploying last year to meet our community's needs. That hard work affords us now the opportunity to make investments for the future and keep balancing our responsibility to taxpayers. And as our city grows up, we need to make those investments both internally and externally. One of the many things I learned from my years in the business world is that you don't wait for a crisis to make your business more robust. Likewise for a city. As our city grows up, we can be more well-managed, from improving both internal and customer-facing processes so we offer excellent little city services, developing, tracking, and measuring progress against goals so we can celebrate successes along the way, to growing and developing our talent in our workforce with more fulfilling jobs to better serve our community, and succession planning across the city so we're not just planning for the here and now. We need to keep an eye on the future. For the community, let's really take this opportunity to reflect on our values as a community, decide how we will leave the city better for the next generation. Let's live up to those values of being welcoming, green, and progressive. If we strive for greater racial, socioeconomic, and generational diversity, we need to make room at the table. If we want to be more walkable, bikeable, sustainable, that requires real investments towards that future. And we should be realistic. There will need to be some hard trade-offs, not to mention time and patience as we continue evolving from a car-oriented 1940s suburb. And above all, as we work towards a more equitable city for future generations, let's remember it should not be based on luck or privilege or just because you've made it into the city. On that note, I've actually been fortunate to have learned and worked with various councils in my 8 years, all with an amazing level of dedication, professional expertise, and passion. And as I think about what's really helped us be successful through those multiple iterations of teams, it's centered around one thing, which is positive intent. And that starts with us. I ask that the community and this body do our best to grant each other the assumption of positive intent. We're up here because we truly love Falls Church. We're dedicated to improving it. We need to remember that we bring a good complement of perspectives and skills, and when harnessed, that's when we are most effective together. How we act up here sets the tone for collaborative discussions with each other and among the community. People are watching us to model behavior. I remain anchored in the belief that we may not always agree, and that's actually very healthy. But if we just stick to facts and civil debates to policy and share our thinking along the way, we can respect each other's positions. And even if those positions may be different when it comes time for a vote, we can still unify around the outcome. And here's my commitment. I'll keep doing the Letty things that you've come to expect over 8 years. You have my commitment to make local government transparent and accessible. Whether that's my blog that I've kept up for 8 years, regular office hours, I'll keep putting in the work and time to build relationships in the community with residents, businesses, and our neighbors. You have my commitment that I'll keep learning from others and be thoughtful with every vote I cast, doing my homework, asking questions, and seeking out voices we don't traditionally hear from. You also see us sharing the responsibility of mayor and doing some things differently. We each have a vote and a voice. And to that end, I'm committed to a more egalitarian city council and moving forward as a team in collaboration with our school board, planning commission, or other boards and commissions and community. Again, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to serve Falls Church in this hallmark 75th year. Thank you for entrusting us all with this responsibility. We've steadily delivered solid results across the city, laid the groundwork for more progress ahead, and I'm really optimistic about our future. I look forward to working with my colleagues. Let's get back to work. So with that, let's move on to the actual agenda.
Yes, and can we start with a roll call, and if you'd indulge us, a photograph as you start your journey?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to do the roll call in the order it will be in. Ms. Conley?
Yes. What am I saying? Here.
Here. Yes, she is
Here.
here. Ms. Flynn?
Here.
Ms. Leon?
Here.
Ms. Shantz-Hiscott?
Here.
Mr. Snyder?
Here.
Ms. Underhill?
Here.
And Mayor Hardy?
Here.
Thank you. And if we could get a photograph, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to adopting rules of procedures. Mr. Shields or Ms. Heath? Who's got this one?
So we have TR 24-01, resolution adopting rules of procedure of the City Council of the City of Falls Church, Virginia, effective January 8, 2024. And your staff report does lay out that it's required by charter that before you proceed, you must adopt rules of procedure. Generally, in tradition, council has continued with the previous council's rules of procedure to give them time to discuss in work session, at their next work session, any changes they would like to make to rules of procedure. So
we'll talk about changes at the work session, but tonight we just need to adopt so we can continue to operate.
right, and that's a charter requirement.
Okay. Do we have any comments before we have a motion then on this one? Vice Mayor Shantz-Hiscott?
I just want to make comments or to put a pin in it that I had several things that I wanted to talk about changing that are just sort of structural to make, I think, the meeting make a little more sense, at least to me, and then a couple points to highlight. Actually, I think, do you mind if I highlight?
Yeah, let's go ahead. I think if staff could take note of these for work session next week, we'll be more efficient then as well.
Let's see. Specific to, and this is just a comment, it's no change needed, but the presentation of information, this is something we've talked about extensively, and I just wanted to highlight that it is actually in our rules and procedures. And that is F, presentation of information, IV, about our agendas, and just making sure that we're all in the same frame of mind, and we understand that whether we're seeking input only, first reading, second reading, final reading, or if we're to be giving some kind of reply. I just want to make sure that we all are in agreement that, or just to highlight that, I don't think we've talked about that, and we talked about it as a rule and procedure, but something we want to have effectively done. And then also just for comment on public dissemination of information, Letty mentioned letters, this is B3 and 4, about the role of the mayor. And it addresses other council members who have subject area responsibility may undertake representational and ceremonial duties. And I think that the hope is that you can see that happen a lot more moving forward. You know, Mary Beth's an expert in local history or other things like that. You'll see other folks taking some ceremonial roles in addition to the mayor. And then the one change I wanted to make was on the, and this is a personal thing we've talked about before, where we get council requests and then have the city manager's report. We're often asking questions that then the city manager is reporting on. So if you want to think about it, Mr. City Manager, it seems to make sense to have the city manager's report first, which often addresses many of the council requests that we have, or replies to public comment or things that people are bringing forward. If you're answering them, then we kind of save that step. So that's the change I'd like to request, whether we do it tonight or at a future date. Thanks.
Ms. Connolly?
I also have a number of requests, but I don't have them right in front of me. So I'm going to ask Ms. Heath, would you like us to email them to you ahead of time?
That would be helpful. I then can collate them, and so you can have a full discussion at the work session. We'll put it in the next staff
Okay.
report.
So I shouldn't email them to everybody, just to you?
That would be great if you do that, and then I'll put them together so everybody can understand
Great.
where they came from. Yeah.
Thanks.
Other comments before a motion, please? May I have a motion?
Motion to adopt TR 24-01 with an understanding that we'll have further discussion at work session to make any changes to this.
Second.
Ms. Connolly on the second. Madam Clerk, can you call the vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Conley?
Yes.
Ms. Flynn?
Yes.
Ms. Leon?
Yes.
Ms. Shantz Hiscott?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Ms. Underhill?
Yes.
Mayor Hardy?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, council.
Moving on to our regular meeting. Would someone like to adopt the meeting agenda, please?
Move to adopt the meeting agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Mayor, if I could make one change to the agenda, it's under the consent items, under item 14C, number 1, appointments, small letter B. I was made aware of some language that pertains to a waiting period before someone who's leaving the office of council can assume the office of planning commissioner, and I need extra time to review that and report to the council as a whole. So if you would be willing to defer that to a discussion on January 22nd at our next regular meeting, that would be helpful.
And for transparency, this is updating your guidance that you had previously given us back in the fall.
That's right. I had given some guidance in October that resulted in it being on the agenda tonight, but I may have made a mistake, so I need to check it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So if we're okay to that amendment to the agenda, do we need to formally?
Can we just have
Move
a
the
motion
agenda
to...
as amended by our council.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Great.
And no opposition to that?
Sounds like all ayes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lett.
Thank you.
Moving on to proclamations. Tonight, we have two proclamations. The first coming up is proclamation recognizing Monday, January 15th as City of Falls Church Day of Service. Ms. Hiscott, will you do the honor?
Thank you. Whereas the City of Falls Church is a welcoming and respectful place for people of all faiths, all races, all cultures, all sexual orientations, and all backgrounds. And whereas the City Council wishes to reaffirm the long-standing community values of equality, inclusion, and diversity, and amplify efforts to support those values. And whereas in numerous proclamations in support of fair housing, disability rights, immigrant rights, and the rights of the LGBTQ community, the City Council has always taken a strong stand in opposition to discrimination against anyone. And whereas the City Council encourages positive action to combat intolerance. And whereas on January 15th, 2024, we honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for leading the civil rights movement in this country until his death by assassination in 1968, to advance civil rights for people of color in the United States through nonviolence and civil disobedience. And whereas Dr. King said, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And each year, on Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, Americans across the country answer that question by coming together to serve their neighbors and communities. And whereas service to others is a hallmark of the American character and central to how Falls Church meets the challenges faced by the city, the Commonwealth, and the nation. And whereas the Falls Church City Council believes that ordinary citizens armed with compassion and willingness to serve can come together to change the world and pursue the nation's highest ideals.
Now therefore, I, Letty Hardy, Mayor of the City of Falls Church, Virginia, do hereby recognize Martin Luther King Jr. holiday on January 15th, 2024 as City of Falls Church Day of Service. Do we have anyone in the audience to accept the proclamation?
Mr. Henderson.
Looks like Mr. Henderson's in the audience. Would you like to come and accept this? Do you have comments too? Want a photo?
Yes, smile again. Thank you.
Mr. Henderson, did you have comments as well about,
You want to do them during public comment?
or do you want to do it during public comment? Okay. Great. Our second proclamation is proclamation declaring January 2024 through December 2024 as the Mary Riley Stiles Public Library 125th Anniversary Celebration. Ms. Connolly.
It has been my honor to be the council liaison to the library board for the last few years. And it is my honor to recognize the 125th anniversary celebration. Whereas a community library of several hundred books was first established in the town of Falls Church in 1899 by a library association with funds donated by the Village Preservation and Improvement Society in a structure behind the home of George W. Hawkshurst at the northeast corner of North Washington and East Columbia Streets. And whereas in 1913, the Falls Church Civic League, known later as the Falls Church Women's Club, adopted the collection, lending books from different locations throughout Falls Church for the next 4 decades. And whereas the town of Falls Church first officially began supporting the library in 1928 and assumed increasing financial responsibility for the library throughout the early 1940s. And whereas, after becoming an independent city in 1948, Falls Church established a formal library board in 1949 and subsequently funded construction of a dedicated library building on land donated by the children of Mary Riley Stiles, the longtime chairperson of the Women's Club Library Committee, and a tireless champion for the library until her death in 1946. And whereas the new library building on the donated land opened in 1958 and through generous community support has continued to operate at its permanent location at 120 North Virginia Avenue for more than 65 years, receiving 3 renovations and expansions, most recently in 2021. And whereas today the library continues to pursue its mission of supporting community, inspiring discovery, and promoting literacy by maintaining a collection of more than 100,000 books, ebooks, audiobooks, magazines, and other materials, offering a wide range of programs for all ages, including preschool story times, book discussion groups for children, teens, and adults, author talks, art and writing workshops, informational lectures on health and current events, winter and summer reading programs, and musical concerts. Providing a variety of services, including computer and internet access, homebound delivery to residents with limited mobility, and study and conference rooms for individuals and community groups. Collecting and preserving and promoting materials related to the history and culture of the city through its Falls Church History Room. Supporting the freedom to read by ensuring access to materials and programs representing a broad spectrum of ideas, perspectives, and experiences through diverse authorship and subject matter. And creating a welcoming and inclusive atmosphere, building on the efforts of Falls Church civil rights activists, Reverend Wallace Earl Costner, and Dr. Edwin Bancroft Henderson, who in the 1950s advocated for a library open to all members of the community. And whereas, due to the efforts of dedicated staff, volunteers, library board members, and an active library foundation, the Mary Riley Stiles Public Library has been named one of America's star libraries by Library Journal magazine for 14 of the last 15 years and received a 90% customer satisfaction rating in 2023 General Survey of City Residents.
Now therefore, I, Letty Hardy, Mayor of the City of Falls Church, Virginia, do hereby designate January 2024 through December 2024 as the Mary Riley Stiles Public Library 125th Anniversary Celebration in the City of Falls Church, and urge everyone to join in the celebration by visiting the library and participating in the library's 125th Anniversary programs and events throughout the year. And it looks like we have library staff in the audience to accept the proclamation. Come on up. Thank you for all that you do, especially this year. And members of the library board, it looks like. Please come up as well. No, stand up. Stand up.
I think Dave Carter just had them in his pocket. I know.
I'm Mark Webster, acting library. Oh, sorry. And I'm joined tonight by library board members Elise Stein and Jesse Lubukas, and also I'm joined by Jenny Carroll, interim deputy city manager and library director since 2017, and my coworker Paula Hawkins. This Saturday, January 13th, we'll officially launch our year of celebration with a 125th anniversary kickoff open house in the library's upper level conference room. From 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., the Falls Church community is encouraged to drop by our upper level conference room for light refreshments, including candies that were popular in 1899, a few fun activities, and a chance to learn more about the library's history. There will also be opportunities to see some of the books that were in the library's original collection, visit the Falls Church History Room, and talk with library staff and members of the library board and the MRSPL Foundation about the library, not just our rich 125-year history, but also our present collections and services and our goals for the future. And at 1 p.m., we'll hold a brief kickoff ceremony during which we'll again read Council's 125th proclamation, unveil a newly enlarged and reframed portrait photo of Mary Riley Stiles, and share our plans to celebrate throughout the year. So thank you again for declaring January through December 2024 as the Mary Riley Stiles Public Library Anniversary Celebration, and we hope to see you on January 13th.
Happy birthday. Any comments from Mr. Webster before he leaves? Questions, comments? Congrats. Thank you. We look forward to seeing you on Saturday. Okay, moving on to oaths of office. Madam Clerk, is everyone in the audience?
I don't believe there is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, let's move on to receipt of public comment then. Madam Clerk?
Yes, the summary of the written comments received since your last regular meeting are as follows. Justin Berg of 202 Garden Court asks that electric power infrastructure improvements be a priority in 2024, given a number of power outages caused by vehicle strikes to a utility pole on South Washington Street. Ryan Cummings, 302 Kent Street, wrote about safety at the three-way stop sign at the intersection of Southwest Street and Parker Avenue, noting that some drivers fail to stop at the intersection, causing accidents and pedestrian safety issues. Kitty Hayes of 2337 Dale Drive expressed concern with Route 7 lane closures because of construction and the impact on traffic. Joyce Migdal of 603 West Falls Way wrote with suggestions for sidewalk material in front of the Beato's location to make them safer and aesthetically pleasing. That was it for your written comments.
Okay, let's do receipt of public comment, either live in person or virtual.
Yes, we have 2 people signed up this evening, and we will remind everybody that there's a 3-minute limit for public comments to make sure we get everybody in that wishes to speak. Our first speaker is Mr. Edwin Henderson of 307 South Maple Avenue.
Thank you. Good evening, and I'd like a little indulgence on my comments, as I have a couple of things I need to say. Number one is inviting the community and the council. I'd like to see all of you out there, even if it's going to be cold, probably, on Monday for the 8th Annual March for Unity and Freedom, which will take place on Monday, January 15th, gathering at 10 o'clock and stepping off at 11:15 thereabouts, where we will walk down South Washington Street or Lee Highway towards the Falls Church, where we will have a commemorative program and a discussion on social justice discussions, difficult conversations. This will be our 8th annual, and I'm looking forward to a good crowd, even though it may be cold. The other issue which I'm bringing to your attention is stems from an email I received from the FCE PTA regarding Give Day, with absolutely no mention of Dr. King whatsoever, which I found very, very upsetting. And therefore, I emailed respond to the email, and I got an email back apologizing. But I think that when you see something, you have to say something. And I'd like to read some of the remarks in my email to her, which is, let us not lose sight of why the national holiday is observed, and that is to recognize Dr. King's work during his short but productive 39 years of life, not to express his significance, especially to the formative minds such as those who will be involved in Give Day, represents a missed opportunity to children to learn of one of the most important figures of the 20th century. Let us not be so focused on a day on, not a day off, or give, that we totally usurp the importance of Dr. King's focus on love, nonviolent love, agape love, nonviolence, his stance against war, and advocating for civil and human rights. Though we may focus on giving back, we must not lose sight of these important aspects of his life's work as we work towards preserving our democracy and continuing to form a more perfect union. And I hope that you take these comments that I'm making to heart, And I'm encouraged by, the proclamation and the inclusion of Martin Luther King Day in that. But I don't want people to lose sight of Dr. King's holiday. It's a national holiday that we have off in his honor, and we should honor him. And as founder and president of the Tennehill Heritage Foundation, it is my honor, it is my mission to make sure that that happens. So I want to thank you all for my time.
Thank you for the important comments, and we look forward to seeing you on Monday. Madam Clerk, other public comments?
Yes, next we have Justin Berg.
Hi, Mayor Hardy, Vice Mayor Shanthead-Scott, council members, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you. I wanted to address a concern about the infrastructure in Falls Church, specifically the fact that at 3 instances this year, we had a vehicle strike on a utility pole on South Washington Street that knocked out power to 330 homes and, of course, City Hall for more than 14 hours. I feel like in an urban environment like Falls Church, this is unacceptable. Points to infrastructure that is not up to standard. And I also think that this is a problem that can be easily resolved. We're talking about one utility pole, and I've had a lot of really productive exchanges with Ms. Mester and with, I know that she and Mr. Shields are very engaged with Dominion Energy to try to resolve the issues. My request for you is that you give this your full attention and support. I think that this is a solvable problem, but one that will only be resolved if the City Council shows that it's a priority and makes it a priority in those engagements with Dominion Energy. So my ask to you is that you support Mr. Shields and his team on this, and that also you support their efforts to work with Dominion Energy to make sure that this is not repeated in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that comment. Mr. Shields, maybe in your city manager's report, I know you already planned to talk about this, given that it's been a recurring issue and you were already on top of it. So any other public comments?
No.
Okay, so let's move on to the report of the city manager. Mr. Shields.
Oh, we have one more item.
Oh, sorry.
The annual.
I get to play the newbie card for a little bit, right?
Retirement board, yes. Another special presentation.
Ms. Rydberg, sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay. Welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. My name is Connie Rydberg, and I'm the chair of the Retirement Board. Thank you so much for inviting me to come here today and give my annual report on the work of the Retirement Board. I know many of you have seen me present to you several times, but if you indulge me just in a quick introduction. So my day job is as a pension actuary, and that means overseeing pension plans for large corporations. So the details of those pension plans are different from the pension plan that the city provides to its employees, but the general concepts are the same. So it allows me to bring my knowledge of those pension plans to this role here as the Retirement Board Chair. I've been a pension actuary for 30 years, and I've been the chair of the Retirement Board for 10 years, more than 10 years. So the Retirement Board oversees 5 plans for the city. We have 2 pension plans, which is the basic plan that oversees, or that provides pension benefits for government employees and school employees who are not eligible to participate in the Virginia retirement system. We have the police pension plan that provides for our police force. We have a plan called the Other Post-Employment Benefits, OPEB, which is a fancy name for medical benefits for our retirees and life insurance benefits for our retirees. That covers government employees, school employees, and the Northern Virginia Criminal Justice Academy. And then new this year, we have oversight for 2 defined contribution plans. Sometimes those are commonly called 401k plans. That's the term for corporate defined contribution plans. For the government plans, the IRS code is 457 and 401A. So we will call them the 457B plan and the 401A plan. In total, that's just over $200 million of assets. So in my report today, there's really two sections. One is a financial section, and I'll go over that in a fair amount of detail. And then there's several pages on our work plan activities, and I'll just highlight two of those this evening. So scrolling down to line 11 of my report, there's a table about the assets in the pension plan and the OPEB plan. So as of June 30th, 2023, there are about $125 million in the basic plan, $41 million in the police plan, and just under $19 million in the OPEB plan. The gross rate of return for FY23 was 8.3% for the basic, 8.6% for the police, and 13.1% for the OPEB plan. The police and the basic plan have the same investment policy. It's a mixture of active and passive investments, invested in stocks, bonds, real estate, and infrastructure. The OPEB is a smaller plan, so it's all in passive, and it's just in stocks and bonds. We've listed here the 7-year average rate of returns, because this is a long-term outlook for these are long-term investments and long-term plans, so we have the 7-year, we've shown the 7-year average return, and then the ranking according to our investment consultants, and you can see that for all of the plans, in comparison to its peers, they're in the top quartile for results. Moving on to line 18 of the report. So once a year, we ask our actuary, the plan's actuary, to do a snapshot analysis of the plans. The results from this June 30th, 2023 snapshot determine the costs of the plans for FY25. So the actuaries look at the assets. They take a view of the assets, which is we smooth the returns over time so that our costs are not as volatile. So there you can see here what we call the actuarial value of assets for each plan. And the next column is the actuarial liability. That's a fancy term for what's the value today of the benefits that we've promised to employees and former employees. And then we're showing the funded status, and those funded statuses are used to determine the cost of the plan, and you can see that they have held fairly steady from last year to this year. All right, moving on. In line 21, yes. So this is a summary of the water sale money that is in the pension plan. And this is money that is in the pension plan but is tracked separately on a record-keeping basis. To give the history, back in 2015, the city sold its water system. At that time, $9.2 million of those proceeds were put into the pension plan, invested into the pension plan, with the idea that it creates an endowment, meaning we want to preserve the capital, but the investment earnings on that $9.2 million can be used by the city for various expenses. I will tell you that there is a 20-page document that goes through the details of how this all works, memorializing the concepts, the background, and all of the details. But it may be 3 important details for you to know are that the investment earnings that are provided to the city to pay for other expenses is on a 5-year smoothed basis, so to manage volatility of investment returns. There's a maximum amount that is allocated to the city each year is $825,000. Generally, the city has been using about $640,000 of that. When there is an excess, we put this into what's called the city reserve account, and that can be used in the future, rainy day kind of thing. So looking at the numbers, back in July 1, 2015, there was a principal of $9.2 million. 8 years later, as of June 30th, 2023, the principal has grown slightly to $9.4 million. The city's reserve account has grown to $2.9 million for a total of $12.3 million of water sale money. Now, that's not all of the benefit to the city because the city's been using some of those investment earnings over time. So in line 25, summarizing the total value to the city of that endowment. So the increase in the principal has been $0.2 million, reserve account 2.9. The usage of that money over the last 8 years has been $3.3 million for a total benefit over the last 8 years of $6.4 million, or an average of $800,000 a year. I think one other point I like to make every year at this time when I talk about the water sale money is to remember the late Ira Kalin, who was a city council member, who was really the master and the architect of this decision, and it's certainly paid great benefits to the city, so we are grateful to him. All right, moving on to line 35 is a summary of the defined contribution plans. So the 457B plan, which contains the participant savings, is about $27.6 million as of June 30th, 2023. The employer match plan is about $0.6 million. The assets in those plans is a good balance of different investments. So we have about 37% in U.S. stocks, 38% in balanced, so that's a balance between different asset classes. Might be static, it might be dynamic, but a mixture of stocks, bonds, et cetera. 15% in stable value, which would be like a cash or a bond fund, and then 10% in other. And then we've listed some of the returns here as well. All right, so that's the end of the financial section. I'm going to take a sip of water. Okay. Moving on to the work plan activities. Just going to highlight 2 items. The first starts on line 45, which is the defined contribution plan. So the retirement board took on that plan, the oversight of those plans this year, and that was a big focus for this past calendar year. Maybe highlighting 4 different activities. So one mentioned on line 50, we hired our investment consultant who is helping us oversee and manage the investments. The second big activity was a full-scale review of all the investments in the plan and really sort of right-sizing the plan and moving it into sort of best practices. So the plan had 38 funds. We've reduced that down to 18, which is really much more of a best practice from a number of funds perspective. These are higher performing investment funds, and we have reduced the fees for the participants. Our third activity was renewing or revising the service contract with our plan administrator, and part of that was also reducing fees. And then the fourth big activity for the defined contribution plan is actually later in this report around line 140. But it's the new investment policy statement for the defined contribution plan. So that was approved by City Council in December. It governs how we monitor the funds, how we will consider whether any of the funds need to be removed or replaced. If we do, the considerations that we have for how we replace it. It also documents the roles and responsibilities for staff, our consultants, the administrators, and the retirement board. Beyond the activities of the retirement board, I do want to highlight the activities of the staff who have been very active in this, in our review and taking on this responsibility. Attached to your packet in the back is the presentation that's been given to employees to educate them about the changes that are coming. So the switch over from the current funds to the new funds will be happening later this month. And Sherry Davidson has put together an excellent presentation and has been communicating and educating the employees about this upcoming change. The second activity, just want to highlight, is on line 68 of the report. This was much more of a heavy lift for the staff than it was for the retirement board, but it was a very important accomplishment for the year. We switched over last year from our old benefit administrators, Curian, to new providers with lower fees, better services. But it was an important transition and a difficult transition with a lot of back and forth. So I want to thank Cindy Mester and Jim Wise, and I'm sure a lot of other people, for a lot of diligence and careful follow-up to make sure that we took care of it properly. With that, I will open it up to questions.
Great. Well, before we get to questions, I mean, I think we say this every year, Ms. Rydberg, but thank you for this incredible gift you give to us between your professional expertise in here and the service you're giving us on the retirement board. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So questions, Ms. Leon.
Connie, I learn something new every year from you in this report. It's very detailed. So I just have a couple of questions. I noticed that under administrative expenses, learning that we kept those flat for 16 years and we decided that we were going to adjust it, right? I see the adjustment in 22, 23, 24, you have planned for 25. Do you foresee that adjustment on admin expenses as something, as a methodology you'll reset every year going forward?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yep.
I couldn't quite hear you on the last part.
Sorry, is my mic working?
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
It was around the administrative expenses section. It had noted that we had kept for 16 years that rate is flat. And we embarked on an adjustment process in FY22 and recast it every year, right? Even we have a new revised expense for 25. Just confirming, did we change our methodology to just accept that we'll be adjusting those admin expenses every year going forward?
So, and just to clarify what those admin expenses are, these are the fees that are taken out of the plan to reimburse the city for the services, for a portion of the services that the city provides to the plan, and that's allowed by the IRS. So it's really the same methodology every year. We ask the staff to give us a breakdown of what are the hours that they contributed to the plan for the past year, and then it's roughly been about a 40% recuperation rate. So that has been the methodology for the last several years.
Got it. So it's about a 40% allocation. It's just been, what's variable is the fact that salaries have adjusted over time.
Right. Salaries increase over time, and the cost of benefits, yes.
So you just adjusted accordingly for that.
Yep.
Okay. I noticed in the work plan pieces that it helped me understand when we do that financial advisory services RFP, is that the recompete for the investment consultant, or is that in complement to the investment consultant that you referenced that we currently have?
Are you talking about the financial services for the defined contribution plan?
Work plan page, 11, in the 2024 work plan special projects column of November.
Is it a line number?
No.
Oh,
it's in the table.
Oh, on the work plan, thank you.
Yeah, the work plan,
I did not print the
That
work
financial service advisory services RFP, is that just a recompete of the hired investment consultant? Are we...
No,
Is that a contract that's in parallel to the investment consultant that we have today?
Yeah, so our intent is to annually recompete one of our services providers. So in the beginning of this year, we're looking at legal services. And towards the end of the year, we want to then take on our investment consultant services. So it's taking one of our current service providers, checking the market to see what services and fees are out there to make sure that we're getting the optimal services and fees.
Thank you. Just wanted to confirm, I thought that was the recompete. And I really want to send a thank you. I think multiple members of council last year had encouraged that we invest or take a look at measuring ourselves and where we invest our portfolio in green, you know, the environmental component, ESG. And so in your report, you provided some clarity of where you're making, you know, what progress you've made. Can you talk to me about the perspective on that? Are you happy with the progress in terms of how we've allocated in that space? Are there opportunities that we can increase without increasing our risk for really great performing portfolio that we have?
Yeah, so I am pleased with where we are. I think in total, we're in a good place. Of course, we always want to do better. So, you know, our first focus is on risk reward and getting the best value for the plan, because as a fiduciaries, our focus is on the participants. And we use the fossil fuels as sort of a secondary tie-breaking measure. But we haven't changed any of our funds this year, but then when we did last substitute out one of our funds in our plan, it was something that we looked at and considered. And thankfully, the one that had the best risk return also had a very good carbon involvement. So we are looking at that. We continue to talk to our investment consultant about, you know, what is out there. Now, the DOL has not really made any changes since it provided final rules in 2022. There's been a lot in the press about public plans and what different states are doing, and so we stay, you know, aware of what's going on. But that's kind of where we are.
Okay, understood. Just thank you to you and the board for your work here. Very much appreciated. Very thorough report, and it's wonderful to see you every year.
Thank you.
Ms. Connolly.
I promise I'll go fast. Thank you. Ms. Rydberg, thank you. As everyone else is saying, I always learn something from you. Can you go back to the water sale investment?
Yeah.
Remember when I mentioned learning curve earlier? So I just got on council when this came up, and this was Mr. Kalen's great idea, and he spent a year he was off council then trying to convince me that this was a great idea. Every single time I saw him for a year. So, and I appreciate everything you did to make that happen. And when we do the budget every year, there's a set aside that's in there, because I really don't want it to be forgotten. So when I look at that number, what I'm wondering is, when we decided to do this, there was a chart to say this is how much the city's going to make, and I'm wondering how we're matching up to the chart. I don't know who has that. Does Kieran have that chart, or?
We could dig that up. It'd be in the council staff report from.
It would just be so interesting
about
to
8
see
years
what
ago.
the prediction of this is what this investment is going to be, and did it actually come to be? It seems like it has, and maybe it's even outperformed what we expected.
It has. So on a long-term basis, we were estimating that we hoped to earn about 7%. That was our long-term assumption for our investments. You can see from the comment in line 22, 23, we've actually earned an average of 7.8. So we are pleased with where it's landed.
That's great. Thank you. Could we get a look at that? Thank you. And then my other question is just about the The change to the plan provider that you mentioned that city staff were getting updates on? You went through and there was a slide there real fast.
Oh, for the defined contribution plan,
Yes.
it is the same plan administrator, which is Mission Squared. But the funds that employees will be investing in are changing.
Okay.
We took a look at those and felt that there were better funds. We also needed to sort of reduce the number of funds to better match up with best practice. So it's the same provider administratively, but the funds will be changing. So for employees, what is in the presentation is the funds will be mapping over automatically. So when this changeover happens, if you were in a fund that was considered like a equities in large companies, so which what we call a large cap fund, your monies will be automatically mapped over to our new large cap fund.
Okay.
Now, every employee has the option of going in and changing it, so it's not, so there are two options, but the good news is, employees don't have to do anything. They can do something, but they don't have to.
And so one last question. Is this fund that school employees also participate in or no?
It is not.
It is not.
This is
Okay.
government.
Okay.
Correct.
Thanks. Thank you again. Nice to see you in 2024.
Thank you.
Ms. Underhill?
I just have one quick question. So some of the changes to the fund allocation reduced the fees. Is there a table or anything that lists what the fees were before versus for each of the different funds in the pension fund?
In the defined contribution
Yeah.
plan? There is, but I will have to get back to you.
And I mean, does it show before versus now? Or I would just be curious to see the,
Yeah, we readily have it by aggregate.
Okay.
Because each fund has a different rate and return, and so it'd be very complex, but we could do it.
you don't need to do, I was just wondering if you already had something.
It's about a 15% overall reduction, because last year we also did a reduction and then did this new one. So it's a significant improvement, but each employee's individual savings, quote unquote, will be different based on their funds.
I would just be curious to see whatever tables exist, if possible.
Other questions or comments? Okay, I have two quick ones. So building on what Vice Mayor Shantz Hiscott asked about, I think actually it was Ms. Leanne, about fossil fuels and divesting from fossil fuels. I do think that in response to, I think the ESC, who had actually asked us to look into this back in 2021, it'd be worth circling back with them and giving them an update. I took note in particular that we had done the calculation that 7% of the pensions across all the plans are in anything related to carbon and fossil fuels, which is much smaller than I thought. So I do think it's worth circling back with the ESC and letting them know that, hey, we're continuing to work on this, but our status is this.
Okay.
My second comment had to do with the water sale proceeds. So if we go to line 25 in the staff report, and the part that Ms. Connolly talked about, the 2.9 million reserves, and that is, you mentioned 800,000 on an annual basis is what we might give back to the city, and then when we don't use all of it, that goes into the separate reserve account. Now, a question for Mr. Shields or Ms. Bawa, if she's in the audience, is does that count towards our total reserve number that we've been reviewing, or is that completely separate?
That is completely separate.
Okay, and so we would never touch those?
We would not touch those. This is actually the innovation, I would say, that Ms. Rydberg and Ms. Mester came up with, which I think should be duly noted, I think was an improvement over the original Ira Kalin idea, as good as his original idea was. But when pension plans go in a recession, your actuarial costs go up. And we didn't want to have the double whammy of also losing the $640,000 benefit that the taxpayers currently receive as their ROI. And so that reserve there is to smooth that out, so that if we have a bad year, and in my term of office, we've had a year of a 45% loss in the portfolio value or thereabouts in that 3-year span in the Great Recession. And our actuarial costs doubled, went up a lot. I can't remember exactly. And that was a huge fiscal strain. And so we've insulated ourselves somewhat from that by having that reserve there so that that 640 wouldn't be part of, compounding that difficulty.
So the intention is that even in the bad years, that we would still be able to draw that 640 because the 2.9 million would insulate us from that.
That's the way I think of it. I know there are other voices in the room, but that's the way I envision us using it.
And so
the
$3 million
council
is
will be,
nothing to
im-
sneeze at,
involved
but
in all
what
that.
sort of return are we getting on is it just sitting in a cash account, or how's that $3 million performing?
The 2.9 million reserve, yes, for the exact reason that we want to draw on it, or the city wants to draw on it in a year where investments might have gone down. So if we had that in equities, it would similarly decrease. So we've left that in a sort of a safe money market return.
At the minimum, is it meeting inflation?
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's degrading in value then.
Yes, no, it is returning more than inflation, yes.
Okay, well, good. Thank you. Okay, final questions or comments from Ms. Rydberg? Okay, thank you again so much.
Okay.
And thank you, Ms. Messer, as well. Okay, now we move on to the report of the city manager. Mr. Shields.
Well, good evening, Council. I'd like to start by offering congratulations to Mayor Hardy and to Vice Mayor Shantz Hitchcock. Offer congratulations to our newly elected city council members, Councilmember Underhill and Councilmember Flynn, and to the entire new council starting off a brand new term. It is a new day in Falls Church. And on behalf of staff, I just pledge all of our passion, all of our energy, all of our dedication to working shoulder to shoulder with you to improve this community. And I really appreciate all the comments tonight and all the thoughtfulness that went into those and articulating a vision for how we will work together going forward. And I would just observe that all of the great currents of this country pass through the city of Falls Church. All the great challenges this country faces, we face them also. And we do it in the city of Falls Church. I think our great strength is our humanity, our deep connection with each other, and the way we're able to do things in a small city way, which is based on what the community is looking for. So in our work as staff, we do recognize and respect the incredibly hard job that only the city council can do, which is to look for where the community is and finding the right compromises of competing values in terms of how we progress together. And that's a very difficult job, and it's a job that only our elected body can do. So congratulations to you all, and look forward to working with you. Also in the theme of new days for the City of Falls Church, I would like to take the opportunity tonight to introduce our incoming Chief of Police, Sharam Fard, and he is here with us tonight. And would love to invite him forward just so he could say briefly a word of introduction. And I will say just a word or two as before Chief Fard takes the stand. But not takes the stand, that's the wrong word. Just a few words. As we've gotten to know Sharam, one, we were very struck by his professionalism, by his deep experience, and his deep commitment to the principles of modern policing, and doing that at the highest professional standards. But we're also very drawn by his personal experiences, his life story, and because we all carry that with us wherever we go. And I think in his career in public safety, he has deep connections with the community and with a great diversity of our community. And so I feel like we're in very good hands in terms of someone who's going to bring the highest professional standards, but also a great commitment to values that we share and that Chief Gavin helped articulate and helped us see so clearly in terms of how public safety should be done in the City of Falls Church. So Chief Fard, look forward to working with you. And before I do turn it over to you, I also want to recognize that our acting or interim Chief of Police will be Juwan Chetri, and really thank him for stepping up in that leadership role in the period between January 1, when Chief Gavin left, and January 22, when Chief Fard will join the city. Chief.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of council, thank you for giving me the opportunity to stand before you and provide a few brief comments. First, I want to thank the city manager for your kind introduction and trusting and providing me with leading the Falls Church Police Department. It goes without saying that the little city is a great city, and as we know, the police department's vision, mission, and core values guide this wonderful work that they do each and every day. But what makes the Falls Church Police Department as good as they are is the men and women who make up its ranks. And I'm honored to lead them and the police department and be given the opportunity to work with our public safety team to keep the city safe for everyone who not only lives here but also visits here. So I look forward to serving. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Chief. And we will have a public swearing-in ceremony here in council chambers on Monday, January 22nd at 11 a.m., and all are invited to that.
Great.
So if council will indulge me, I do have a couple of other things to report on tonight, and I'll go through them briskly. One, I think just of general interest, the Planning Commission in December approved a site plan for the Stratford Motel site, and what is proposed there is the partial demolition of the existing structures there, but maintaining one of the structures to have a two-story restaurant along with outdoor seating and surface parking. And the application details or the site plan are in the Planning Commission's packet for their December 2nd meeting, and I'll share a link for that. This is a by right application, so it will not be coming to the City Council, but I wanted the Council to be aware of that very visible corner of the city, which will be redeveloped, we anticipate, in the coming months. Also, just wanted City Council to be aware that City staff has received and is processing a new special exception application for a mixed-use development, a proposed mixed-use development at the corner of Maple and Annandale. And that is the vacant parking lot that has historically been used by the Bowl America site. This application is currently being intaken right now. It's being evaluated for completeness and assessment of the fees. If all is in order, then it would go to the Staff Design Review Committee so we could give you some comments. We would anticipate an initial work session in late February if all is in order. But I wanted Council to be aware that application has been received. Shifting to leaf season, I want to thank our Public Works operation crews. We have completed leaf season. This week, for the public interest, we will be going out just to do cleanup of any late piles that might have appeared. But next week, we would ask people to, if you do have leaves that you want picked up, to have them put in the bags, and ADS, our contracted service, will come and pick them up. Of course, homeowners are always able to mulch them in your property as well, and want to thank all of our residents who did that this year. But I do want to just note crew leaders Joe Dowling and Brian Benson for their good work and leading the men who did this work over the past season. Brian Benson is going to be with City Council in 2 weeks because he was our Employee of the Year last year, so we get to thank him in person, but also Pat Legler and Deputy Superintendent of Operations Anthony Driver all play a key role during leaf season. I also want Council to know that we are fully staffed up now on the Rapid Response Transportation Team. And I know this is a little bit later than the Council would have liked, and we've been working very hard to fill these vacancies, but very pleased to say that we have done so. And I want to thank Herb Holmes and the HR team on these hires. This team will be working very closely with Jenna Brummond, who is the head of or leads our neighborhood traffic calming program in the CACT, for those opportunities where we can do administrative solutions and deliver those solutions more quickly. So we're looking forward to progress in this area and wanted to note that. We're still not fully staffed in DPW operations, but we are making progress. A note on weather, we do have a flood watch right now for the city. Tomorrow, we're expecting 1.5 to potentially 4 inches of rain. So I want people to be aware of that, as well as a high wind advisory with 30-mile-per-hour winds and gusts to 50 miles per hour. So those same DPW operations crews, along with sheriff and police and everyone, will be watching this as it develops tomorrow, and want everyone to be safe. And then I'll end my report just on noting, Mr. Berg, thank you for your comments tonight. We do the power outages. This is something that has the city council's attention and staff's attention, and we're working in very close communication and really trying to apply as much pressure as we can with Dominion Energy to make more resilient improvements to the power grid. On December 12th and again on the 29th, a high-speed vehicle in the early hours of the morning crashed into a terminal pole on North Washington Street, damaged the infrastructure, and we had prolonged outages for a significant part of the city. Those outages also impacted the City Hall campus and the library. So we're assessing what the city can do from a public works perspective and a traffic engineering perspective, and we're working with Dominion on increased resilience. I do want to thank Cindy Mester, who is always our lead. She spends a great deal of effort to cultivate effective relationships with Dominion. We depend on them very much, and Cindy works very effectively with them. So we hope to have more information to report. Dominion had a meeting today. We have not gotten the reports of that meeting, but we're supposed to get some proposals, and we'll share those with the City Council, and ultimately Dominion will share those with the community once they move forward. I will also note, in the long term, all those utility wires will be put underground with the grant funds that have been awarded to the city through the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority. But that project is several years out, so that's not an immediate solution. I'll stop my report there and be happy to answer any questions.
Questions and requests from Mr. Shields. Mr. Snyder.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. To continue the good news, I was listening to WTOP this afternoon, and they gave top billing to Falls Church Restaurant Week. So congratulations to our EDO, and to everyone, our business community, our chamber, everyone involved. It was just really great. So more good news. Thank you. I wanted to respond to my neighbor, Justin Berg, as well. So Cindy Mester and I were on the line with Dominion Power the day of the event, so I wanted to let you know that the importance of the event wasn't lost on the city. It's, of course, important to the neighborhood, but even more important because it's the city's governmental center. And it is an infrastructure issue that all of that would be on one single pole, and regrettably that pole has been targeted on several occasions. So we're working on every element, by the way, of your letter, well written, well researched, and we're working on every element of it, and there's no doubt that the city is fully in support of your recommendations. So thanks again for making those.
Ms. Flynn?
I just had a question for Mr. Shields. So on the proposed SE application that may be coming our way on South Maple and Annandale, I'm understanding you to mean the corner that's kind of behind the bank and next to the Harris Teeter on the north side of that intersection?
That's correct.
Okay. To the extent, I'm sure staff's doing this already, but I think that's also the place where the Maple and Annandale roundabout is supposed to be occurring. So it might be helpful for us when we see that to see it already integrated in terms of what the roundabout area is supposed to look like, and then what this development would look like in coordination with the planning that's already taking place there, if that's possible to do.
That is our expectation that will be done.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Thanks.
Other questions or comments from Mr. Shields? Okay, I've got some. Thank you, Mr. Snyder, for addressing the Dominion outage. So I guess the question is that now that it's happened 3 times, it's not a coincidence, right? Like, I'm glad that we're working with Dominion closely, but is there something with this location in particular? Is there sightline issues? Are there things that we can do to improve? I think you noted in the email to us, maybe some road geometry. Are there things that we should take independent of Dominion? Clearly, we should do more on the Dominion side, but it just seems kind of coincidental that it's the same pole that's been hit 3 times in 1 quarter.
So we are looking at it. I will note that pole's been there for many years, and so it's a new phenomenon. But when it does happen 3 times, and we're actually going through the records just to assess how many times has that pole been hit, and we'll get more data on that. But there is a Public Works look at this as well.
There is a Public Works, and our Public Works Director and Deputy Superintendent are working with me to go out there and look at it to see if there's anything we could do to highlight the poles, any signage we can do in advance of redoing the North Washington streetscape in the intersections. Because
that project is years away.
Regrettably is a targeted pole. That project is too far out, so we need to do something now. And so they're going out and looking at it for us so we can run that parallel to the work we do with Dominion. Because even if we have the redundancy, which I hope Dominion will do so that it's not a 1-point failure on the circuits, you still have a pole that won't be undergrounded for several years.
Yep, yeah, let's clearly keep up with Dominion, but also on our side, because it's clearly a safety issue too. People keep hitting this pole, like it's kind of strange that it's getting hit 3 times. So that we are responsive to the other public comments, Mr. Shields, take note of the one that was about enforcement at the Parker and West intersection. I know in general we're getting reports that people tend to just run stop signs, and so that bad behavior. It'd be great to get the police to do extra enforcement, or again look at sight lines there and why that 3-way stop is getting missed.
Can I just interject on the 3-way stop signs, because I've had multiple experiences at 2 intersections. The one near my own home, which is Columbia and Van Buren Street, there's a T there with a 3-way stop sign that I've also seen run during, it's really scary when it happens during the school bus hours in particular, which I've seen twice since school started. And then also at Fulton and Oak Street, there's a 4-way stop there, and those who seem to be coming down Oak Street from Lincoln towards Broad Street, I've seen 2 right in the middle of broad daylight, 8:30 in the morning, one literally with a Peloton, affectionately call it a Peloton of middle school boys who bikes to school every day. And there are 12 kids on a bike that were going through the intersection, 8:30 in the morning, and someone blew right through the stop sign. So I think it seems to be a rash of them at these 3-way stops. So, we have our new police chief. We have some exciting things to happen maybe in February with 3-way stop sign enforcement. It's really necessary. So thank you for letting me interject on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to add 2 more. We have 2 intersections where there are not great T's, and there's lots of stop sign running. So Seton and South Oak, which is on my daily walk, and then Lincoln and North Oak is another one where it's really hard to see at the intersection, and so people frequently run those. And so if we can pay extra attention, we're so small that we know these intersections so well, so it'd be great to ensure that we are safe there. Moving on to other comments and requests. Carryover from December, I had 3 items that I would love an update from the city manager on, I think for the benefit of the community as well. We had authorized a couple contracts with projects on the ground coming in 2024, and now that we are in 2024, it would be great to give an update for the community. One was authorizing our first pilot of speed cameras in the 900 block of West Broad Street. I think we had authorized a contract for that to happen any minute now. And then the second is the 3 new hawk crossings on Broad Street as well, just because I think those will get a lot of attention. And again, in the spirit of increasing pedestrian safety and improving our streets, I think people want to know what the latest on when work will actually start on that. Do you have an update tonight or an update?
I do not have an update. I'm looking at Mr. Young and see if he does, but we will get a written update for council this week.
And just because I know that I think one of the other public comments we got, and it was just about congestion on Route 7, I think to manage the community's expectations on when these other street projects will be happening on Broad will be important, to let them know that, hey, this is going to come in March, you're going to see hawk signals here, and this is why we're doing them. This is not to make your life miserable, to actually make it safer. And the other kind of request that we had authorized you to take action on was the sidewalk in the 400 block of West Broad Street, which has been a longstanding community concern. Is there an update on any actions there that we can see?
So we are right now in discussion with the property owner. We do have agreement, at least a verbal agreement on a price, and we're working through some of the additional details relative to site issues that he has raised. I'm hopeful that we'll get those resolved this month and then proceed. That's what we're working to do.
So it's going to happen in 2024. Thank you. Okay, if there are no more council requests or items for Mr. Shields, let's move on to the business on the agenda. Madam Clerk.
I think our first business is the consent agenda, which has had item 114-1B removed.
Okay, does any council member want to remove any item from consent other than the one that the city attorney requested at the beginning? If Ms. Leanne asked a question, does that mean we have to remove it off of consent?
Just pull it off.
Oh,
You can. You should ask a question if you have a question.
I just want to make sure that the HVAC design services contract, we keep adding to it. And I understand the rationale for the addition, right? Since now council asked for geothermal design, and so now we did an assessment, said, yes, we can do geothermal, but now we're actually doing the design. Just want to make sure that we're management and targeting to minimize any change control on any additional costs for design services, because at a clip for $140K for design services before implementation starts. I just want to make sure we're fiscally monitoring that.
Yeah, thank you for that comment, and we're very sensitive to it as well. The increase in cost for these design services is related to the increase in the scope, and we've discussed that increase with the City Council. It has not expanded further than what we described to you, 5 months ago. This contract was begun, however, back when it was the original scope, which was just a very simple switch and replace project. And so this does reflect the reality of what we're trying to do with the HVAC replacement. We do anticipate that we'll have a briefing for the City Council in February on this. The information that I have is that the numbers aren't any worse than what was described when we last met.
Thank you for that.
So given that question, is that off of the consent agenda legally? Is that what we have to do?
I will defer to the city clerk.
Or the city attorney?
I think you can go ahead and proceed with the grouping of those items and vote on them together.
Okay. Do we have a motion to move the consent agenda?
Motion to move on the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Snyder on the second. Madam Clerk?
Ms. Conley?
Yes.
Ms. Flynn?
Yes.
Ms. Leon?
Yes.
Ms. Sean Siscott?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Ms. Underhill?
Yes.
And Mayor Hardy.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, council.
On that note, Wyatt, when we talk about HVAC again, if you can refresh our memories on the total costs and how this fits into that total cost, I think that would be helpful.
So the request that we had was a $2.7 million cost increase. And so we're still, that number has not grown from the last time that I've been briefed on this topic. But we're going to expect to have a detailed briefing for the council in February.
Great, thank you. Other business on the agenda. I think we're moving on to our work session. Is that right?
That's correct.
Great. And that is TR 24-02. This is working out our liaison responsibilities and regional boards. Ms. Heath?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is the appointments that we make when we seat a new council to serve as board liaisons, serve on committees, and serve on regional boards. I have received some requests, which are noted in the staff report, about the different assignments that council members would like. And so we wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about them tonight if you'd like to. We also have you penciled in to have a work session on this at your regular work session, and then so we could do an adoption at your next regular meeting. But I wanted to give you an opportunity if you wanted to talk about these tonight.
So we're not scheduled to vote on this until the 22nd?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So do we have comments, questions based on this is the green, I think there's been multiple versions, but the green, I think, is the latest.
Yeah, page 11 starts the appointment requests that I received from you all. Generally, your council committees they used to be 2 people, but we have increased them to 3. It helps with allowing remote participation. So we do have some overlap with requests there that you would want to work out. Your liaison positions to boards and commissions, of course, that doesn't mean you have to attend every meeting. Some people do, some people don't. So those are commitments. There are some, and that's usually one person. That's always one person that's a liaison. So we'd like to have somebody for each of those boards to have a council liaison. Regional organizations, we can have a member and an alternate on any of those organizations. So, and there's a little bit of overlap there, but it looks like at least we have everything covered. There's interest in every one of those. So.
Yeah. 2 quick things before we jump into discussion. So one, it's great that there's so much interest in all these. So that's wonderful. Second, are there any time-sensitive ones that can't wait till January 22nd, or they all can wait?
I mean, the regional organizations like to have them in December, but I think when you make the appointment is when they'll get them. But
Yeah.
I know folks want to start
Correct.
attending.
Aurora House is meeting this week. Parks and Rec is meeting this week. It's been published. And so I want to make sure that we maintain continuity. So I think my concern is continuity. And what is the proposed approach that we're going to agree to if we're going to make a decision on the 22nd?
And there's always you can take action tonight if you can
Let's go for it
lay
tonight.
this down.
What does the group think?
If we can move tonight, Madam Chair, let's do it.
I agree with
We get
Mr. Snyder.
consensus, and I think we can.
Vice Mayor?
I just had, did you add me on the ESC? Somehow that was,
I see you on there.
okay, because the printed version, I just want to make sure it got added. Okay. And then on the regional energy, I'm on there as well. Okay, I just want to make
This
sure.
is not the correct version. We did correct it. Yes, you wanted to be added to the Climate, Energy, and Environment Policy Committee of COG.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
It's on the screen, but not on the paper, so I just wanted, those are the only 2.
We just didn't get it
Looking at my own request, those are the only 2 changes that I asked for. Otherwise, if everybody else is comfortable, I think we have a couple gaps, though, we need to fill, right?
So,
Sure.
Ms. Connolly?
I'm sorry. Ms. Flynn had her hand up, too. My thought is just, I remember when Ms. Hiscott first got on council, we kind of did this, and she signed up for everything she was interested in, and then ended up getting on way too many boards and commissions. So I'm not quite sure the approach that all of us took. Did we put down things we would be willing to serve on, or did we put down things we really want to serve on? So I think as we go through, we need to think that through as well, because there's a few of these here where my name is on them. I'm happy to let someone else be that person. I would like to remain on the library board, which I guess didn't make it on here. But I would like someone else to take the Human Services Advisory Council, because I've been doing that for a long time and really understand their work, and I think it's important for other people to understand what they're doing as well. So that one would be great if someone else would take on. They meet on like the 3rd Thursday.
So I added you to the Library Board of Trustees as the liaison, and there's no one else that has asked for that.
Okay. Ms. Flynn?
I just wanted to, as to the COG information, I included committees that I would feel comfortable serving on, but I don't actually really want to be on 2 committees. And so I would prefer, if I could, to do the Chesapeake Bay and Water Resources Policy Committee, because as it is, I'm going to have to seek further ethics clearance, and I feel like that area is less rife with any potential conflict than doing the Human Services Policy Committee, given some, I think there's like some Homeland Security potential issues there that I might run into ethics issues, conflicts with. So I wanted to put it in for the group that if you feel so inclined, you could just strike out my name on that particular committee. If we need coverage on the Chesapeake Bay and Water Resources Policy Committee, then that would be my contribution to the COG.
Okay. Is someone capturing notes, or I'm trying to capture these? Okay. Okay, how about we start with the easy ones, where we don't have conflicts and don't have coverage at all, and then we can go and do the harder ones. So we have HSAC, which is third Thursday, that is vacant. We have Retirement Board and Public Utilities Commissions. Those are the 3 blanks I think I see. Is that right?
Yeah. Remind me again, what does HSAC meet on Thursdays?
They meet at 6:30 PM.
Before
It's at the same time as...
See, it overlaps with ESC and housing, usually, isn't it housing?
No, housing's on the Tuesday, and
else that's
HSAC's on the Thursday, but it overlaps with ESC, yeah.
I don't mind taking that if somebody,
I was just going to say that I would be willing to take the retirement board if nobody else takes it.
there we go. I'll take HSAC.
Thank you to you both.
There you go.
So Ms. Leon for HSAC
Yes, please.
and Ms. Underhill for Retirement Board.
That still leaves the Public Utilities Commission.
I can keep doing that. I just was giving others the option since it's...
Thanks, Debbie.
Since I know, so that meets at the same time as urban forestry. Like, I'm happy to take that one if you want it.
That is not an even trade of time. Just factual, not a judgment. I think the PUC, I think we met 4 times last year. I don't...
You can have it.
I'll just stay on Public Utilities Commission, if I may.
So Ms. Hiscott, you'll stay on that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and then ESC, Mrs. Scott, you just took? You said you'd stay on that?
Yeah, it
Yes,
just
that was
didn't
just
get typed on here.
Okay.
Don't let anybody in the ESC think I didn't want to do that, because I've really
Right.
enjoyed the work there.
It's on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will note, and this is related to Mary Beth's comment, Justine, you're signed up for a lot, so
Oh, yeah.
just make sure that you're...
That was just based on things I was interested in. So.
Right.
And to note, the committees, we don't want to have a committee of 4 because that's a quorum of the entire city council, so we do want to hone those down a little bit.
Got it. Can we finish the boards and commissions, then we'll get to committees?
Oh, okay, I thought we finished that one.
So is there anything, Justine, that you would like to
Oh, I'm sorry.
step back from, or is that you're fine with 5? I think I'm counted 5 and 2.
Wait, am I the only one on 5 or?
No, like the EDA has 4 people signed up for
So
it.
that's where like I don't need to do. But yeah, I'm pretty equal to.
Okay.
And as Celeste said, I think we're all welcome, like, we don't have to go to everything, but we're also welcome to go to the meetings that we're not actually the liaison to.
So that's fine with me. We can strike me from. I mean, so there's things that I'm the only one that signed up for it, which is like AAB and Arts and Humanities. So I can take those on, and then you can strike me from the others.
Well, Justine, do you feel strongly about Planning Commission? Because I know that I can flex because I go to those meetings, but if you want to be the official person and you feel strongly, I'm okay with that, and I respect that.
I don't feel particularly strongly, so
Sure.
I guess it comes down to the number of things that I'm on. So how about, I mean, why don't you take that?
Sure.
Yeah, I think my name is signed up for a bunch of other things, so I'll be okay.
And I do thank Mary Beth for pointing that out, because that's the same approach that I took the first time of everything that I was interested in and then ended up doing
Too much. Are we updating this live, or we're doing it a paper version? Like, I don't know whether we're,
Should we go from the top and just reconfirm then?
that's a good idea.
Still have Rec and Parks and Harb have 2 of us. Erin, you're welcome to take Harb.
Yeah, I might be interested in Harb. Is that okay? If I
Sure.
take Harb? Okay.
Sure.
And then I don't feel strongly, Justine, if you want to take Rec and Parks,
Oh.
I can defer to you, or I'm happy to do Rec and Parks and you come to whatever Rec and Parks meetings look interesting.
Yeah.
It's across the street for me, as is everything, I guess, so.
Let me just quickly count how many things I've already signed up for. 1, 2, 3. What, is there like a reasonable number that, like 7 I saw in an email somewhere?
I think on average for liaison to boards and commissions, it's been about 4 per council member.
4, okay.
But the Arts and Humanities meets in the daytime.
Yeah.
So that's different.
Yeah.
Just because it hits different.
This is, it's 4 for just the city boards and commissions, or it's 4
4 for the Justice City boards and commissions, I think is historically where we've been at, but we get to figure this out.
Okay. 1, okay, I'm on 3. So, Aaron, I don't know. I'm happy to let you take it, but if you feel like you've signed up for too much, I can take that on.
All right, why don't we, I mean, Celeste, we can always amend this, like if Justine and I, 6 months, we're
Certainly.
kind of like feeling out how the schedule's coming together, and yeah, so we can maybe touch base and I'll start with it. I
Sure.
think I have 3 now, and then we'll touch base and can always swap or give each other relief.
That's
Okay.
Rec and Parks. So that was Rec and Parks.
Right.
And not on EDA, not Justine on EDA.
Yeah.
So EDA.
So then Historical Commission and CACT, Mr. Snyder has been doing for a long time. I put my name on as willing to step in if you want it to be done, but I can.
No, I think Mary Beth, it would be great if you were on that. You've done so much great work on, Women in Falls Church, and the History Walk would be great.
Okay,
You okay
so
with-
I'll do the Historical Commission
Yeah.
and you stay on CACT.
If you want CACT, you can have that too.
But I think I get to have too many. so.
Okay, so from the top, can we make sure we recap to see whether we've got all the same?
Sure.
So we have
AAB, Justine Underhill. Arts and Humanities Council, Ms. Underhill. HARB, Ms. Flynn. We haven't done EDA. ESC, Ms. Hiscott. Aurora House, Ms. Flynn. Historical Commission, Ms. Conley. Housing Commission, Ms. Hardy. HSAC, Ms. Leon. Library Board, Ms. Conley. Planning Commission, Ms. Leon. AAB, Advisory Board of Rec and Parks, Ms. Flynn. Retirement Board, Ms. Underhill. CACT, Mr. Snyder. Urban Forestry Commission, Ms. Flynn. And Public Utilities Commission, Ms. Shantz-Hiscott.
Right. So if I take CACT, Dave, you don't have any.
Which one?
I said if I do CACT, you have 0
local boards, right?
boards and commissions. So we can't let that happen.
Oh, no. Can't let that happen.
No.
Okay. Unless you want CACT, and I'll go back on the Historical Commission. It's really up to you, whatever your preference is. It's fine with me.
Is there good alignment between the regional transportation boards, Dave?
Yeah, there is some.
Yeah. Why don't you keep CACT? I'm a little worried about the dates of some of these. So we should probably look at a calendar and make sure we're not, like, what day does the Historical Commission meet?
When you signed up, did you check? No.
Okay.
It's the 4th Thursday.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay, so then we need to figure out, so we've had EDA liaisons.
There have been three of
us
for the last.
Yeah.
It's Tuesday nights.
First Tuesday.
Tuesday.
If you two both want to stay
Name
on, I
today,
can
you
just,
can get named tomorrow. You can show up
I
tomorrow.
can show up tomorrow. Let me, put me down as tentative on the EDA. I haven't done that in a long time.
Where's the current list?
Why don't I not be assigned? I'll just come as needed.
Ms. Hardy is the liaison to the EDA now. We only have one.
We always get recognized as the liaisons when we show, so that they've just been very welcoming of us.
One per board.
I think it's okay
See,
that we all show
anybody
up.
can go to any meeting because they're all public meetings.
I thought the EDC paralleled the EDA.
Maybe you're showing up as the Economic Development Committee.
I've gone to every EDA meeting. I mean, we don't vote, we're just the liaisons, so. It's just been the overlap between EDC and EDA.
Mary Beth, what was your preference again?
I'll come off EDA. You can, if there's only one liaison, you can take my name off, but I'll go occasionally.
Celeste, are we missing the Chamber of Commerce on here?
That was Mr. Duncan's.
That was mine.
Yeah, and it's not a city
it-
board or commission, so.
Anybody can go?
Correct.
But it isn't it a liaison position? The
Oh, yeah,
chamber
that's-
has, but the
that's
chamber counts on having a council member there.
It's usually me. It's been for the past 2 years. We actually talked about it when it first came on council, so just.
So we can add that back in?
Chamber.
Yeah, it was Mr. Duncan for years and years and years and years.
And then it was me for the
So
past
they
2.
request a liaison.
And they
I think it's well, Becky Witzman, from her office is an ex officio, and then they have a school member ex officio, and then they have a city council and a school board liaison that come to board meetings.
Okay, I'll note that as a separate from our city boards and commissions, since it's
Yeah, you might,
advisory to city council.
yeah, and I don't know if it's a liaison position on the chamber board or if it's an ex officio or how that works.
Yeah, if you want to keep, does somebody want to do that?
Well, I had submitted in my ask if I could keep that unless somebody else wanted it. It meets on Tuesdays at 8:30, and I've been doing it for 2 years, so it's integrated into my schedule. Unless anybody feels very strongly, I share.
No, and you can take my name off the EDA. I would like to remain on the EDC. Officially or unofficially, those two are in parallel, so.
EDA.
So could we look at the,
She is, so Ms. Hardy will be the liaison to the EDA?
okay, can we look at the list just so we're,
Oh, yep.
are we straight now? Is everyone okay with this before we move on to council committees and regional ones?
Can you switch to the next page, Celeste? Real fast.
Oh, yep.
Okay.
Look good? Great.
Okay. Shall we tackle council committees next? So what Celeste said is we can't have 4, because then that's a quorum of the full council?
Correct.
Okay.
So on appointments, I have really enjoyed serving on that, but I'm happy to take my name off and let it be Aaron, Letty, and Caroline.
Okay.
Okay. But I would very much like to be on the EDC, which I haven't done before. I would like to participate on that one.
Okay, let's talk about that one then. So we have 4 currently.
You know, I'm willing to go off, not be listed if there are others who want to make up the 3.
I'd like to stay on that since I actually thought I was the EDA person, but I will remain EDC if I may, because that's now my professional life as well, as all focused on economic development.
I would like to do it too. That's okay.
Okay, so that leaves GovOps and Budget and Finance with 4 people.
I feel very strongly about Budget and Finance Committee.
I don't feel very strongly about some of these, so we can take my name off.
Of which one?
Budget.
Maybe it would be great for Aaron and Justine to like split the GovOps and Budget and Finance, to
Yeah,
have
I
one
feel-
new on each one of them, because there's a lot to take in.
Yeah, that's a
And
great
I
idea.
feel I feel more strongly on GovOps than Budget and Finance. I just felt like Budget and Finance is a good place to like get a hold of things, you know? And, But I could just tune in every so often or show up if I'm
Okay.
able to.
So you'll take GovOps and I'll take Budget and Finance. Okay.
Do we do it?
Yep. Great. 3 on each of them.
Okay. Everyone confirm?
Oh, can I end up to make a statement about GovOps, which is just that I know we had talked about, like, all these dates are set as, like Tuesdays, Thursdays, whatever it is, but my serving on GovOps may actually, I can't do Tuesdays at lunch, which is when it normally meets. I didn't know if there may be a possibility of EDC and GovOps meet the same week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, if people's schedules would allow to, like, swap the Tuesday and the Thursday or not. So I just want to flag that because I can't get out of Tuesday obligations. I have to be downtown on Tuesdays.
Yeah, and the only committee that has a set time by code is the Appointments Committee, so there is room to move.
We can certainly
If we
look
find
at what
rooms.
suits the staff. I mean, we've made those meetings based upon the staff's best timing often, so I imagine we could work through that.
Yeah. Okay.
GovOps does tend to move around a little bit more, too, yeah.
I think we're flexible on that.
Yeah, it doesn't even really have to be at lunch.
I mean, I think I just inherited that schedule from when
Yeah.
I was there.
I think it just wasn't at night because there's so many staff members, or potentially many staff members involved, trying to keep their night meetings at a minimum.
So what happens if a fourth member of council shows up to these? Is that legal?
Yes, it's advertised as a meeting of this committee and not as a meeting of council. So the only thing that could be discussed is the work of the committee and not other work of the general council.
I think because Budget and Finance, before I was added on as a third member, I used to always come. I think Phil used to come, and you were always gracious and let us join anyway, so.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's, especially Budget and Finance, but any of them, it's good to have people, and I've been going to GovOps, but I'm not on GovOps, so.
Same thing with Housing Commission.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say, especially for the council ones, like if clearly there's a lot of interest in these topics, I think it's wonderful. So I think that would be a nice continued practice, that even if your name's not on here, consider it, the chair should consider it an open door policy. Okay.
However, to have a quorum, you have to have 2 assigned members of the group in the room.
Correct. And
So
that's why
that's
we
the-
went to a committee of 3, because now if somebody needs to participate remotely, there are 2 people, there's a quorum in the room. We can't do that with 2 people, so.
Okay, are we ready to move on to the regional ones?
I think so.
Is NVRC one that they requested leadership to come, or is it?
Yeah, what's that commitment?
So I had a memory that the NVRC changed their bylaws to express that the the county chair of the board or mayors would be members of the NVRC. I think they've since softened that, so I think they have a preference for the mayor to be the member of the NVRC, but it's not in their bylaws any longer. That's my understanding of the situation.
You want to go, Letty? You can.
When do they meet? Do we know?
I'll have to look that up.
What? Well, I mean, there's a precedent there, so I think.
You go, you go. Do we know date and time?
Emails to come up. Let's see.
I'm happy to do that if there's no conflict, and maybe we can name an alternate. There's an alternate for it, too.
Okay. Let's see, their first meeting is January 25th at 7:30 PM, held in person. So what is that, the third
It's third Thursday, fourth Thursday?
Fourth Thursday.
I think that should be fine.
February 22nd, March 28th, 7:30 PM.
22nd or 25th?
It's February 22nd,
Oh,
January 25th, February 22nd, March 28th.
sorry. Is it 22nd or 25th? I can't hear you.
January 25th and February 22nd.
Got it. That should be fine. I'm happy to take that one. Caroline, will you be the alternate? You'd put in for it, so you had put in for it, so I think we need an alternate for it too. Okay.
That's cool.
Are all the transportation boards fine with a primary and an alternate? Is that?
If I could note on the NVTA PCAC, I believe the bylaws, and Mr. Snyder, if you can affirm my recollection, that member cannot be the NVTA regular member under the bylaws. I think it has to be a separate. So Ms. Underhill could be the PCAC, but Connolly could not if she's the alternate to NVTA.
Right, so the way it's written now, it's the PCA,
The main NVTA council members of Ms. Connolly and Mr. Snyder work, but under the PCAC,
okay.
you could not be.
So I'll take my name off the PCAC, that's fine.
They meet very,
Can you just give a rough
infrequent.
thumbnail of the difference between the transportation? There's the Transportation Authority, Transportation PCAC, and Transportation Commission.
Yeah,
Either Mr. Schneider or Ms. Mester, give us just a quick summary of the difference and the responsibility.
yeah, the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission is all the local jurisdictions in Northern Virginia with metro funding responsibilities, so it's all transit. Northern Virginia Transportation Authority is much broader. It's broader geographically, and it has major funding sources that fund all modes of transportation.
We receive a lot of grants through MVTA, West Falls, North Washington, et cetera. MVTC, we do get funding from the inside and outside 66. So there is money, but much smaller. And Mr.
Right.
Schneider highlighted the main difference, transit versus all transportation. But MVTA does do transit and is getting more multimodal oriented. And they meet different times, but they do have important things for the city and ties back into your broader COG discussions too when you talk even broader.
They meet once a month, and then they each have committees that meet in addition. So they're like whole separate bodies with different committees. Like NVTC has a WMATA committee, has a ledge committee, and a couple other committees. NVTA has a finance committee and a governance and personnel committee.
Yep. And the PCAC is a sort of a focus on projects and grant review piece that then feeds back in, and they want that to have a separate function so that the person who's on the main MVTA hasn't done that detailed review. And the frequency of that meeting is pretty infrequent. Which one? Maybe 4 times a year, I believe.
So what if Justine did the PCAC and the NVTC? Could you do that?
Yes.
Take me off the NVTC. So then does the alternate have to go to these meetings too to be up to
No.
speed?
You do
No,
not
you
have to
can.
go, for these two, though, you have to be officially certified. They have a much more stronger protocol for the alternates to show up at a meeting. So once you all designate, then Carrie Onadino, who's the main staff for these two, would help coordinate that after the city clerk sends the message in to the regional boards.
Okay. And do we need an alternate for the PCAC? If we just took me off that?
I don't think so.
I don't really think
Not
so,
now.
yeah.
no.
Okay.
If for some reason something comes up, then we could come back and amend it with you all. I don't believe Mr. Duncan ever had an alternate when he was serving.
And the Virginia Career Works is a liaison to that board and not a member, so I don't know if that makes a difference, but.
So as a liaison, Mary Beth, is it just following what's happening as opposed to being a member of the?
I have been the liaison to that board maybe for 10 years, and there was one time they needed me to do something.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah.
We're going to increase workforce efforts.
So are we good on these regional ones now?
Does what's up on the screen look good?
Okay, moving on to COG. So Aaron, you said you were willing to give up one of the Human Services or Chesapeake Bay?
Yeah, I would rather roll off of Human Services if that's okay and keep Chesapeake Bay.
I'm currently at Human Services, I think, or maybe Debbie is, and I'm the alternate, so I'm happy to. Okay. For the climate one,
Debbie, if you want, do you want to be alternate for that, or do you want to be the principal member? Either one is fine with me.
I would love to flip and be the principal member and not the alternate this year, if that's okay.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
do each of these need alternates, or is it just up to us?
I don't think they have to. You can,
Okay. So that leads the COG board.
There's 3 to choose from.
Caroline and Dave.
Dave, do you feel strongly about this one?
Pardon?
I'm hearing we don't need alternates. So we've got you on COGA Board of Directors, the Transportation Planning Board, and Air Quality Committee. Do you want to take all 3? I don't know if, I'm hearing we don't need alternates for those 3.
Do you want to be the COG board?
Are you the lead now, or was that Tartar before?
I'm on it now.
Got advice?
Pardon, I'm sorry.
Any advice?
Advice.
Advice? You're on the board now?
I'm on the COG board of directors, yeah.
Yes. So, do you want to keep that one, or?
Well, the Transportation Planning Board is more consistent with the other transportation things. In the Air Quality Committee, I'm supposed to be the Virginia chairman of that. So if you want COG board, feel free.
You okay with that? Okay.
Okay.
As long as we're, okay. And when is, Dave, is that monthly in DC?
Yeah, it meets monthly. The hitch with that is the next meeting is Wednesday at noon.
Actually, I'll be in DC at noon. Is it in DC?
Pardon?
Is it in DC?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Caroline, I think given all the work you're doing in DC, and
Yeah. That's actually.
to have a new
actually
face
what-
there.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Dave.
I think we worked it out. Are we? Everyone want to do one
That was
final
a really
review
good
before we?
job.
Sorry?
that was a really good job. Thank you.
I just wanted one.
Thank you all. How about everyone take a look at final time, and then we can decide whether we're ready to take a vote tonight?
We're going to add some more somewhere. Yeah, just add it in between the committees and the.
Exactly the same.
We'll figure it out.
Is everyone good? I'll give the clerks a chance to update everything before we take the vote.
We added the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. I know they appreciate it.
I think we're all set.
Great. Do we have a
Carolyn, you
motion?
have a lot.
You took on a lot.
Okay, last chance. You can give up something. You sure? It's good to look out for each other.
I think Planning Commission and HVAC. Okay, so Planning Commission.
Oh, is your mic on, Miss Leon?
No, thank you for catching that. I think I'm open for anybody who wants to take HSAC or Planning Commission, I think, just to balance this out.
Planning is Wednesday nights.
Yeah,
Every other Wednesday night?
yeah, every other one.
First and third, I think.
Is it the,
I think so.
Can you do planning commission and appointments? Both?
Well, appointments is on the first. It doesn't conflict because we're on the
Appointments second Wednesday.
second. Yeah, and Planning Commission meets on the first and third. Yeah.
But it does conflict with AAB, right? No.
I'm not sure.
No, because AAB's here.
Appointments, sorry.
I know for sure.
AAB and appointments same time because Oliver's there. Yes.
The Rec and Parks and Appointments Committee.
I can take on planning.
Caroline, are you okay giving that up?
I'm okay. Thank you. Justine's back on. All right.
Does anyone have more than 4 or 5 that want to give one up? So this is a good chance to look out for each other here. Okay, I'm going to take silence. Is everyone's okay, or? Okay. A good best practice, I think, is in the past, if there's transitions, maybe the current liaison can chat with the incoming liaison to talk about the role and what the boards are like. Okay. Are we ready for a motion?
All right. Motion to, wait, it says none.
I think you could
Switch it to the title.
move to
number.
adopt the title and
All right.
as amended.
Motion to adopt appointment of city council members to city council committees as liaisons to city boards and commissions and to serve on regional organizations including Metropolitan COG, policy boards and committees as amended on January 8th.
Thank you, Ms. Leon. Do we have a second?
Second?
Was Ms. Flynn on the second? Madam Clerk?
I'm sorry, I missed the second.
Ms. Flynn?
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Conley?
Yes.
Ms. Flynn?
Yes.
Ms. Leon?
Yes.
Ms. Shantz Hiscott?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes?
Ms. Underhill?
Yes.
Mayor Tarter? I mean, oh my gosh, I did it.
Uh-oh.
You almost made it through the
He
meeting.
jinxed me today. Mayor Hardy.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, council.
Thank you. Any business not on the agenda? Standing Regional Committee,
have one.
Ms. Chauncey Scott.
Let me pull up this message. This is it's extending an additional invitation, if you all have not seen it, that there is a memorial service for Carol DeLong, who was obviously mayor of the city. The service is on she died on December 9th at age 93, and the service is this Saturday, January 13th at 3 p.m. at the Falls Church Presbyterian Church, 225 East Broad Street. DeLong served on the Falls Church City Council from 1974 to 1990 and was mayor from 1980 to 1988, the first woman in the city's history to hold that job. So, just wanted to share that information. Thank you.
And the library anniversary celebration, I think the ceremonial part is 1 o'clock, so it should not conflict with the service. Okay.
And can I also just note for the public's interest that the city clerk set up, I think, a very thoughtful and nice series of information in the lobby of City Hall about Mayor DeLong and her legacy and the work that she did with the city. So I wanted to thank the clerk for that.
Yes, and I want to thank Sophie Kotcher for putting that together.
Great.
Good job.
And while we're on the scheduling note, I think staff had put together kind of our annual Day of Service event on the 15th that Wyatt emailed us about. Could I just get a head count of who can make it?
Can we make it a little later?
I think they're flexible on that.
They're flexible, because the Tinner Hill Walk is
Till noon, I thought.
till noon.
But then they have
Should
speakers.
I signal to them 2 o'clock? Or are you thinking even later than that? I think the patrons or clients start to come in the afternoon. So I think 2 might work for them. I can check on later than that, but that might start to get a little bit too close.
What does the group want to do?
I think if we could do 12:30 even,
Okay.
And people can get on with their day.
I think so. I mean, I think then we would be able to attend a good chunk of the Tinner Hill event and.
Because the march steps off at 11:15, and it's like a 10-minute walk.
Right.
Okay.
12:30.
12:30. Thanks.
Justine, anyone else can make it?
Okay.
Debbie?
As of now.
Okay.
I'm a maybe still, depends if we're here.
Wyatt, do you know if there's a minimum number they need to put us to work?
I will check. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Sounds like there's 4 of us. Oh, Dave, you can make it too. 4 plus a maybe, if that matters. And staff is welcome to join us too.
I'd like to join if...
Absolutely.
Okay.
We would welcome staff. Thank you, council. I think it's a nice tradition. Okay. Any other council comments?
I do have one.
Sure.
And that is from the Budget and Finance Committee. One of the things that we agreed to last year with the revenue sharing agreement is that City Council would pay close attention to what the school board is doing, and then school board would pay close attention to what City Council is doing. So tomorrow evening, starting at 7, is the school board meeting where Dr. Noonan is presenting his proposed budget to the school board. That's tomorrow. It seems so early. And I'm assuming it's early in the meeting, but I would encourage everyone either to watch or attend and definitely do a review afterwards to get a sense of what he is proposing.
And that tees it up for any follow-up questions we can discuss at Budget and Finance on the 6th. When is that meeting? I think it's the 12th.
This Friday, the 12th. No.
Next Friday?
It's next Friday.
Yeah, the 19th, okay.
Okay. Any other comments?
When you do start your committee meetings, just get in touch with us if there are any changes to the dates or times, since you've now been appointed.
So it's okay for us to email among ourselves to just figure out a schedule to meet the first one and then figure out chair.
Scheduling is
Okay.
good. Fine. Thanks.
Okay. Anything else? No minutes tonight, right? Okay. We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Thank you, council. Good night.